Welcome to the Vibrant You Health Show with your host, Blake Bars. At Nature's Pantry, our mission is to lead you to vibrant health through the best nutrition, supplementation, service, expertise, and healthy choices. In this show, we aren't interested in fads or quick fixes. Rather, we want to get into the holistic fundamentals of health. We want to answer questions like, what are the underlying causes to health issues, and what solutions can help lead us to vibrant health? You can watch every episode and listen to the podcast by visiting our website at naturespantry.life. The Vibrant You Health Show is brought to you by Terry Naturally Vitamins and Solar Ray Vitamins. At Nature's Pantry, we strive to work only with companies that maintain the highest standards for quality and efficacy. Terry Naturally and Solar Ray are two of the absolute best.
3, 2, 1.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode 32 of the Vibrant You Health Show. I am so excited tonight to have my special guests, Lasa, Justin, and Summer. We're going to be talking about goal setting, tips and tricks, and their expertise in the years they've worked coaching people and reaching and achieving goals in their own lives. And I'm excited for this class. I think it's going to be really helpful to all of us and all you who are able to watch this. And all you guys in the health challenge. It's going to be a super helpful episode for everybody. So I just want to start off with some introductions. If you guys could introduce yourselves, tell me what you do. For those of the people watching that don't know yet, tell me who you are, what you do, and why you're passionate about health. Let's just start with Lasa in the top there.
That's funny. I think we're all you're in a different order on my screen. I'm Lasa Baxter. I'm a holistic nutritionist and certified personal trainer, amongst other things. I have my own company, Wild, but you'll often see me training individual sessions at Mountain Valley Fitness and Health in their facility. I've been a high school volleyball coach for 17 years and just kind of all through the health and wellness arena. I work with school-based health services with kiddos in special education and 504 kids in the school setting and across the state of Oregon. And that's me in a nutshell. I grew up here. I'm originally from Union, Oregon, and wellness and health and kind of the human body I'm just intrigued with. I love it. It's fun and I enjoy
Bobcats.
it. Yep. Go Bobcats.
All right, Justin, how about you?
My name is Justin Hernandez. My primary career is I'm a police officer for Union County. I'm a certified personal trainer, life coach, mentor, and I spent a vast majority of my time training high school athletes specializing in sports performance, but most importantly, trying to get kids to the next level and play at the collegiate level. Health and wellness played a huge role in my life, because where I grew up, I was exposed to a lot of things. And I could just say the weight room, if I wasn't introduced to the weight room at the time that I probably would be on a totally different path and in a different place than where I ended up. So I created a program for high school athletes where I specialize in sports performance training, but it's much more than that. And my goal is to get kids into college and give them an opportunity to play at the collegiate level. And if college or collegiate athletics isn't part of their goals or desires, I try to implement the weight room and structure and routine and just overall health and wellness in terms of optimizing them as human beings.
Very good. All right, Summer.
All right. My name is Summer Steele, and I'm a licensed massage therapist, a personal trainer, like Lasa and Justin, and a nutrition coach. Like these guys, I also do a few other things as well. I'm a jiu-jitsu coach, and I do self-defense lessons. And then I'm a missions pastor.
Awesome.
I guess the other thing, just for background, I moved back and forth between the Grand Ronde Valley and Idaho a lot growing up due to my dad's work. And so I have been in Union County off and on for a good portion of my life. And so I do have a lot of roots here and a lot of connections. A lot of people I love.
Yeah, for sure. It's a beautiful place. Okay, you guys, we're talking about goals tonight, and I know you guys have set some goals, achieved some goals, you failed on the way, you've worked with people, helped them fail through and worked their way to their success. So you know a lot. And I was reading a survey, a recent study that said 67% of people set goals for themselves, but only 10% make realistic plans to reach their goals, and only 2% will follow through and make them happen. In your opinion, what's the difference between those who set goals and those who actually accomplish them? Let's just go back in the same order. We'll start with Lasa.
One of the things, Blake, I think is, I don't necessarily think that the reason that they might not accomplish the goals I don't think it has anything to do with the goals being too big or too grand or, audacious or anything like that. I think it has more to do with that they don't develop systems or processes to help have actionable behaviors that they can repeat over and over and over and over until they're successful. And I think you're going to have failures along the way. The biggest thing is just learning from the failures and picking up at where you were, where you left off, figure out what you need to do. Failure is an amazing thing. It's an awesome thing. As a coach, coaching high school athletics, honestly, I kind of wanted the girls to lose every once in a while because it showed us where our weaknesses were. It showed them to be showed them how to be humble, but it showed us how to come back to the ground level and go, what do we really need to work on? Where are we weak? What do we need to improve on? Where do we need to shore up things? And so, if you can take those failures and learn from them, I think it's a big thing. But I think going back to the question, I think really it's about learning how to, and I think you'll probably talk about SMART goals later, but learning how to take actual behaviors where something's measurable, something's reasonable, you can be accountable, but really getting specific and honing the focus in and not being too broad with your goals is where I think people tend to fail. I think, an example might be this. If I was working with Justin and Justin's goal was just to say something as simple as if I was working with him, I would start doing something like this. I would start with kind of just some breathing and let him get calm and let him get chill. And then I just let him do some brainstorming. And I would ask him to write 1 to 5 things down that are things you want to improve on that would be just kind of broad scope. They don't have to be super specific yet. And in that time, let's say one of those things he said was, I want to be a better father. I want to be a better dad. Well, if you take that and look at it, it's pretty broad. Where do we go from there? And I think a lot of people can fail because that would be very unspecific. And you kind of don't know where to start, and you could go a lot of different directions with it. And so then it makes it hard for you to measure your progress or know where you're headed or where you're going. And so I would then help facilitate, let's take a look at that goal and then go, okay, let's be a little more specific. Find a few things that you think you need to attain in skills, things that, you need to remove that are barriers like time restrictions or money or any of these things you think in your head might be barriers. Just walk through those processes and go, okay, well, what do I need to do, gain, learn, connect, in order to facilitate what I want to achieve, and then hone that into picking one thing that you think is going to move the needle the farthest. And I think just making it as simple as that, but being very specific on it. So I did this with Island City Fire Department, and I had a person in that group say exactly what I just said. Like I was using Justin as an example, but he said, I want to be a better father. And I said, okay, it's kind of vague. Like, what does that look like? And so he got time to think about it and really brainstorm. And I said, start thinking of things, actions and behaviors and things that might be worthwhile and meaningful for you that you could start implementing. And so what he came up with was reading 30 minutes with his daughter twice a week when he got home from work. And so that is a much more measurable goal where it's more specific, and we could even get further into it than that. But that's kind of the idea. If you start with just something, you start with a brainstorm, then you kind of hone it in skill wise, and then make it something that's actionable, but being very specific is key. I think where people fail is when it's too broad and they don't have any systems, they don't have processes built around it so that when things do come their way, they can rely on those processes and systems that are in the background. And, it's kind of that buffer. But anyway, that was a lot.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. Yeah, I could touch on that, quite a few things you said, but I think I'll let Justin just jump in here and add what he wants to. What's the difference between those who set goals and those who actually accomplish them, in your opinion, Justin, and what you've seen with people you work with and yourself?
In my realm, what everybody wants to do is go D1. That's a big thing. That's the overarching goal. But when it comes to going D1, there's all these small things that need to occur. And like Lasa talked about, when it comes to the acronym of SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and we have to associate a time element with that, they lose track of all of those things in the day-to-day life or the week-to-week or the month-to-month, and they're thinking 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and it's like D1, D1, D1. And I'm huge on my athletes getting their nutrition dialed in, because like I always tell people, it's 70% nutrition and the 30% is in the weight room. I mean, if you're coming in busting your butt and you're not dialed in from a nutritional aspect, you're just going to kind of run in circles. And so, like what Lasa said, I think that's going to echo throughout this conversation, is just following the SMART acronym and being very specific, making sure that there's something measurable. And, whether it's the grades, the weight room, bench press, squat, vertical jump, L drills, 5, 10, 5. I mean, those are all the measurable components. But I think a lot of people get lost in the day-to-day stuff, and they're just so focused on D1, D1, D1 and saying D1, 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 that it's like, they're not sleeping, they're not drinking their water, they're not stretching, they're not recovering right. We're still hitting we're hitting the numbers that we want to hit in the gym, but in order to reach that elite tier of collegiate athletics, we have grades, who are we as a person? What do we do in the communities? What's our coaches going to say about us? What is a teacher going to say about us? And we're not tying in all those other aspects of life. That if we just get so focused on the overarching goal, but we forget about everything that's going to build that success and those targets that we set for ourselves, we can kind of get lost in the goal itself. And it's not that the goal's too big, it's that we just lost track of the process of what it's going to take for us to achieve that goal.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's so true, and been so true in my life too. Like, for instance, in your example, D1 is like the long-term goal or the vision for the future, right? And so what that does, it's a beautiful thing to have a vision, right? A vision for the future. But what that does is it makes the steps and the small short-term goals more clear. But then what we got to do is we got to break down those short-term goals and say, okay, what's one? I want to increase my vertical. Okay. And then we got to make okay, that's my goal. Now, how do I make that specific? How do I make that measurable? How do I make it attainable and relevant and time-based? And write all that out, and then focus on that one thing. Okay. And once you reach your vertical goal, then what's the next thing? Okay, I'm going to work on my nutrition, and let's write out something specific about that I'm going to do and get that down. If we get too focused, like you said, on the long term and the big picture, we're going to fail to do the small steps that it takes to get there. And that's something I see a lot today, is that we all want to jump to the end goal and be there right now. But actually what we need more than even just having the end goal given to us is we need to put in the work and the discipline and the time and the sweat and the tears to get there, because what's going to happen is we're going to build the character on the way to that. And that's even more important than actually even achieving the goal, is what you build in the process of achieving it.
I like that. I like that character component to it, because that's where it's developed.
All right, Summer, what do you think? What's the difference between those who achieve their goals and those who just set them?
In a word, it's consistency. But I would go ahead and expand on what Justin and Lasa said, because I absolutely agree that without the components of what they just talked about, you can't really hope to achieve much, especially the bigger, more all-encompassing goals. I wrote down a few things here. A lot of times we have these large goals that feel so much bigger than we've ever maybe culturally been taught to think in our lives. Maybe it's our family culture or our job culture or whatever. So we automatically, can you hear the chicken? There's a chicken right outside my window. I'm sorry. Anyways,
Eastern Oregon flair that we
it's
need.
very Eastern Oregon. But yeah, we have this thing of, oh my gosh, one day I'd like to, own a restaurant, or I'd like to do this, or I'd like to do that. And then we think, yeah, but I could never do that. And we just write it off. So we never get started with step one. So we kind of let that first initial dream intimidate us from ever moving forward. If you can manage not to do that, I think the next thing is you don't create the practical steps. And sometimes it's just a step one. So if it's I want to start a business, or I want to start a nonprofit, well, okay, then it's not fun, but like call the IRS or get on the IRS website. I'm going to shut this door.
You're good.
Get on the website and figure out what kind of 501 corporation you want to be. Like, figure out step one and spend a really boring, irritating evening on the IRS's website and figure out what your foundation even has to be a legal corporation, right? It's not crazy. You don't need a master's degree for it. It's just annoying. But do that first step that lets you think, oh, okay, I could do this actually. And then the other thing that I was thinking about is you have to, so Justin was talking about kids wanting to go to, like, what'd you say, a D1 school, right? Well, whatever your goal is, create a short-term goal. So for me, if somebody tells me, oh, well, I really want to run a 100-miler, right, or a trail marathon or something crazy and kind of big they've never even done before. Okay, well, then let's just register you for a local 5K in 3 months. And that will get you out of bed tomorrow and all this week to start training, because you have something in the short term that kind of lights your hair on fire a little bit and forces you to make the consistency happen in your life. Where often if we have these big 5 and 10-year goals, when we wake up and life gets crazy and we're tired, we tend not to ever take those initial steps. So that would be kind of my next thing is break it down and create some sort of short-term goal that allows you to have a little urgency underneath you to move you forward. And then the last thing, this is just a quote I heard today that I think is important to all this, is most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a day. So that just goes back to the consistency thing. So if I go to bed and I've only moved towards my goal by 0.25%, well, how far have I come in a year? Right? How much better is my strength if I'm looking to do a Spartan race? How much better is my endurance if I'm looking to do a trail race? How much better am I to a business if I've been figuring out the legal aspects every evening for 30 minutes before I go to bed? Like, just finding those small little steps that get you the right way. And then, create consistency and create the short-term goals to make sure that you have the urgency to make you move forward, even when you don't feel like it and when you're tired.
Yeah, 100%. I had, when I was in AA and trying to get sober, my sponsor told me, I was telling him all my problems and the huge hole I had dug myself into. And I was like, how do I ever get out of this huge hole? And I was thinking, man, I'd spent 12 years digging myself this hole. It's going to take me 12 years to dig out of it. And thank God I'm actually 12 years sober this year. But
Awesome.
He came to me and he said, you know what, Blake, how do you eat an elephant? And I said, I don't know. He said, one bite at a time. And so sometimes we get so overwhelmed by the idea of eating the elephant or the big goal that we forget that all we can do is one thing at a time. And all we can do is, like Summer's talking about, the one thing that I can do today. And every day is a step and towards success. And every failure is a step towards success. Okay, so tell me, I want to know, everybody wants to know about your guys' routine. Everybody wants to know about your personal routine and how that empowers you to do everything you do every day. You guys have been working at this a long time. You have some pretty serious disciplines. And I just want you to kind of share like what you do as your morning routine and why it's important for you. So let's just start again with Lasa.
Thanks, Blake. I was thinking about this last night, and I was thinking this ties back into what I said about when you develop systems and processes around all of your goals. And this comes in time and layered effects. So you want to pick one thing at a time so as not to overwhelm yourself. But my routine, my morning routine hinges 100% on my evening routine and what I've done the day before. And so anytime I have free time, I try really hard to do a couple of different things. One is kind of the compound effect. If I have free time that I feel like there isn't something else pressing in it, I'm going to make sure I've developed my training and workouts for as far out as I have time to do it. So that when free time comes in another area, I've already got that finished and it's established, and it's kind of the compound effect of then when there's free time that I want to just enjoy, I've got it. So that's one thing I use kind of that compound effect, like trying not to waste time doing things that are wasteful. And then trying to just be accomplishing little things, doesn't have to be anything big. I use a method a friend of mine taught me this years ago, and maybe I've mentioned it before, I don't know, but they call it the touch of one. And so literally down to things like, if I go get the mail and I bring it in the house, I don't bring it in the house. I don't even go into the house. I look at it at the mailbox. I decide what's garbage and what's not. Most of it's garbage all the time. And I literally walk right to the recycle. I don't even bring it into the house to create disorder or chaos. I hate it. And I have enough disorder and chaos trying to run and do 3 jobs all the time that I want to eliminate as much as I can so that my life is just as smooth as I can have it. Because my schedule looks very tight, back to back to back. So I'm getting up at like 4:30 in the morning. In order to get up at 4:30 in the morning and get 8 hours of sleep, which I think is really critical, I am going to bed or trying to go to bed the night before, where it's like, okay, time to wind down at 8, trying to get in bed by 8:30. But before I've done that, I set out my training program the night before. It's already been planned. It's in the gym. It's ready to go. I set out the equipment I'm going to use. I set out all my clothes. I set out even like my face wash cloth and stuff like that in the bathroom. And the reason I do that is because my brain and body that's the preparation for the next day. It's telling itself, you're ready to do this. You're planning to do this, so that there aren't more excuses. So when in the morning, when 4:30 comes and the alarm goes off and I'm freaking tired and I don't want to get up and I want to lay there, I've already prepped my body that I have limited amount of excuses or barriers because I've already got things ready to go. So my evening routine really sets me up for success for the morning routine. And then when I get up in the morning, I've got a little extra time. I really make sure in the morning, I don't know how specific you want us to get, but in the mornings, I usually get up and I usually take time to take care of my body a little bit before I start training. So I'll get up and I'll foam roll, and then I'll do some dynamic warm up, just some, mirroring some of the things I'm going to do. Like if I'm going to do squats, I'm going to do some body weight squats. If I'm going to get my hips warmed up in a dynamic way, things like that. If there's going to be lunges, I'm going to do some body weight lunges. If there's going to be push-ups, I might do some push-ups against the wall. I mean, just things like that to kind of get the body prepped. And then I'll go through more of a static stretch, and anything else that, if there's things bugging me, I'll hit that. So during that time when I'm doing that, I try to have the space have a feeling or a culture or a vibe that I want. And sometimes that's pretty calm at the time. Well, oftentimes in the morning, I'm kind of I don't want to throw the crazy music on yet. I want to kind of come to, get my water, get my stretch on. And during that time is time that I'm either in prayer, being grateful, having my brain just be open with open space where I can think about the things that I should be doing or that I want to accomplish, or even just allowing my body to feel, what does God want for me? What is my purpose today? How do you want me to serve today? And then I'll tell you one of the most important things that I think is absolutely critical in being successful with this. And I speak from experience and doing it one way and then doing it another way and knowing the difference. But oftentimes we are so looking at the end of the journey, and we're so focused on the end result and that end goal that we're missing preparation in our brain, visualization, thinking through. It doesn't have to be just imagery, but really thinking through, planning and prepping for all the steps of the way, from the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I think when we don't prep for the beginning and the middle, all the things that can come up along the way that might, derail you or become barriers, and we didn't really think through them, we didn't plan for them, or all those steps, I think that can be, and that can really often make people step away from their goals and their dreams and fail. And so during the time that I'm getting ready, I'll just kind of walk myself through even that day. Like yesterday, I was out at North Powder School District for staff in service, teaching wellness and doing goal setting. And I just walked through, like, what do I want the drive to feel like? What do I want to feel like when I walk in the door? How do I want them to feel? How do I want them to feel, like that that there are no barriers, that they're capable of the biggest great things, and that, that they can do just anything that they want to, anything that's been set on their heart to do. And I just wanted them to feel like they were getting skills and tools and be given some things that would be useful. And so I walked through like kind of the whole process of what I wanted the outcomes to be, but how that would look along the way. And I think, that's legitimately that's happening in between 5 and 15 minutes. All those things I just talked about happened in between 5 and 15 minutes. So it's not a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time to do that stuff. And I don't want people to think that you have like all day to be crazy and do this stuff. You don't. I mean, it's a luxury to have a day where you get to sit in the sun and read for an hour and write down notes and goals and stuff like that. And it's amazing. I love those days, but that's not like my normal schedule. And then, I'm just really rigid with keeping calendars and schedules and trying to keep everything. But those are just some of the things. I always train on empty stomach. So I'm in a fasted state in the morning. The only thing I've had is water and some mineral salts for electrolytes. And then I definitely eat, and I make sure when I eat post-workout, it's pretty close after the workout. And it's typically a protein shake with like a half a cup of cranberries, a half a cup of frozen blueberries, and some good healthy fats like avocado and some nut butter, and a little bit of like coconut yogurt that's got like kind of some good fermented probiotic type stuff in it, some greens, blah, 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 water. And then I get ready and move on with my day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Several things you said there really helped me think about my routine and how I can improve it. So I appreciate you sharing that. I think one of the things that really hit me is when you talked about like what you're thinking about. What do I want to feel like when I walk into this building? What do I want them to feel like when I'm talking to them? And I couldn't help but think of this. And in the Health Challenge, we talk about you get points for putting positive things into your mind, heart, and soul. And you get points for saying, encouraging other people and uplifting other people. That's like our spiritual and mental health piece. And I think that's a big part for me. Like, I believe personally, like spiritual health is like the foundation of all health. And a wise man once said that out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so how do I fill the heart with the things that I want coming out of it? There's oftentimes when I catch myself talking negatively, complaining, criticizing, condemning, saying negative things to myself, saying negative things to other people. Well, where is that coming from? That's because that's what I'm feeding myself in my thought life, in what I'm paying attention to, whether that's just being on social media or news or whatever, or just spending time worrying, right? And so if I'm focused on, I want to focus on filling my heart and mind and soul with things that are going to not only help me, but also help other people. Right. And so I think that's, and that's what we're talking about. Right. And I want to get more into this a little bit, like our purpose and our why and stuff. But let's go back to Justin and this question about your morning routine. Justin, okay, so tell me a little bit about your morning routine, what you do and why it's important to you.
Um, well, my morning starts at 3:30 in the morning. I roll out of bed, and like Lasa, I prep everything for that morning the night before. So I get up, my gym bag's packed. In that gym bag, I have what I'm going to train in for myself, what I'm going to work out in. And then I shower after, shave. I have a shower bag, and it's like all neatly stacked with purpose and intent inside my gym bag. And then I have my workout clothes in there, then what I'm going to train the athletes in. With that, I have a speaker. And morning routine is I get up. I'm at the gym by 4:00. And when I get to the gym, I'm putting workouts on whiteboards for different sports. And then at that point in time, it's go time for me. Then I do my 1, 2, or 3 mile run, go back, do my strength training session, shower, drink my protein shake that was made the night before with my greens, my protein, depending on what season it is for me, a certain type of creatine. I have a banana that I nibble on, and I sip on my protein shake throughout my workout. So I have that post-workout. Then I train the kids. And then at that point, it's like, it's go time. I go home, I warm up, meal prep food for the week in terms of like my meat, my mushrooms, asparagus, all my vegetables. And I throw a bunch of eggs in there, do the oatmeal and the honey stuff for my family. And then I'm out the door into work by 7:30. And like Lasa, my morning routine is very critical for how my day is going to go. That's what the few hours that I have in my life that are just quiet. I have music going on in the background, but I have to-do lists on my phone between, being an instructor of many things at my agency, training clients, being a mentor, having online clients, and then doing the cop stuff and teaching classes at schools, and then being a husband and a dad and trying to do this golf thing. There's very few moments where it's silence around me, but my brain is always going, and I am planning and getting my mind mentally prepared for what is going to happen throughout the day. And when talking about the SMART acronym, when it comes to goal setting, I set daily goals of things that I want to get done. And I don't just wake up every day to get through the day. I'm waking up every single day to execute my goals for the day, but also see how far I can get ahead of tomorrow's goals, or how much closer I can get ahead to my end goal. And if I don't have a goal, an overall goal for me, I just kind of feel like I'm just kind of treading water. And I'm more of a hey, let's swim across the river or the ocean type of guy. So I always have to have a goal to kind of keep me going, and something to keep this thing between my ears focused on, because I don't do good when I just idle. And there's been some genetic, I could say I'm genetically predisposed to some things that could not be very good for me. If I didn't understand how important goal setting was, and if I didn't understand how my body worked, and if I didn't understand how important it is to have something to target lock on and to work towards every single day. So my morning routine is very critical. It drives my wife crazy because Saturdays and Sundays, the alarm's going off at the same time. I'm back and I'm done and ready to kick the day's behind by 7:30 in the morning. And she's like upset that I'm back in the house all jacked up on coffee, like mowing the lawn and get my Sunday chores done before the kids are even awake. But that's what I have to do. And it's literally the only me time that I really have, honestly. And I enjoy it. I know how important it is. And morning routine is everything to me. And I'm huge on systematic approaches and processes and systems. And I have a system. Every single day to me operates like a system. So yeah, that's what I do. And it's very, very important to me.
What Justin said is so it's just so huge. Everything I said, everything he said, that's the systems. That's the processes. It wasn't just one thing. It's all those things built together around it that are making everything happen. Like it's not any one thing. It's all of those things. But for somebody who's just starting that process, they do have to pick one thing. And then what happens is the ball just starts rolling and rolling. It's kind of like a snowball. It starts picking up other things and picking up other things and naturally starts going in that route. Like Justin, I don't do well with stagnancy. I do not do well where I feel like I'm floundering. And so one of the things I was going to say to these guys that I think is helpful is I just keep a like simple, like couple dollar notebook type thing like this with me. I have this with me everywhere. I take it, like I literally I don't leave the office without it. I go to the gym with it. I have it at home and I always have a pen in it. And I am spending my time writing like anything I learned, any thoughts that I had, because there's so much going on, like Justin's schedule. You know, I got up and you train, but then you go and you're headed to the gym. I train 2 more people. Then I go to the office. I'm at the office all day. Then I go back and I train 2 more people. And then I'm getting home late at night. So every weekend has to be food prep. Every weekend has to be, and I love this life that I've created. This might not be for everybody what we do, but we're trying to just show how those systems help us continue to be successful in doing what we're doing. And if we didn't have all that preparation work in, that's where we would fail, because this could be exhausting.
Right.
I mean, it can sound that way to others for sure. But I think one thing that helps me is like having somewhere where I can write down thoughts, write down notes, write down things, because I might always have a podcast going in the car. You're always learning. And so having a place to write it down so that you can go back then and reflect on it is pretty critical.
Yeah, for sure. I've been getting to know Justin pretty well over the last couple of years, and he's definitely inspired me to improve my morning routine, and I've gotten a lot better. Actually, I had lost a bunch of weight after COVID, and just I'd gone to like whole food plant-based all the way, and I was losing weight, and so I had to make sure I got my nutrition dialed and recover from that illness. And then also I needed to get the right nutrition dialed, and Justin helped me with that. And then also, well, of course, I know a little bit about that too. So, but Justin then got me in the gym and got me on a routine. And I started with just saying, I'm going to the gym 1 day a week. 1 day a week, I'm going to the gym, and I don't care what happens. I'm going that one day. And once I got into that routine, I was going every Wednesday, and then it's 2 days a week. And then I got 2 days at the gym a week. And then I got 2 days at home where I work out a week. And then, it just kind of builds, but you got to start really small and attainable. And it might not be at 3:30 or 4:30 in the morning for everybody. You might have different windows of time in your day, or it might look different. Like you may not be doing intensity. It may just be walking a mile in the evening or something. Getting your food prep done in the morning when you wake up, and you have time then to do it. And then do your walk in the evening, or whatever it looks like for you. Wellness looks like for you. But the underlying principles of this still remain. And that's preparation, doing things with purpose and intent to prepare yourself to succeed instead of allowing roadblocks to build up in your way. It's setting those goals, not only the long-term goals, what you want to achieve and what you want to feel like and look like and how you want to serve and what your purpose is. But it's about setting those short-term goals and getting specific and measurable and attainable and relevant, and setting a time limit, a time aspect to that. So I want to get into Summer. I want to ask Summer about her morning routine. And then we have some questions coming in. So we'll get to those maybe after Summer. Why don't you jump in and tell me a little bit about your morning routine, Summer, and why it's important to you?
Okay. You guys, Lasa and Justin, are making me feel a little bit more normal. I get feeling sorry for myself because I get up at 4, right between you guys. And I find that if I want time for my brain to work a little bit in peace and quiet, that's pretty much the only time I'm going to have. So some of Justin's motivations he was talking about, I really sympathize with that. Okay. I have another saying. It's my second favorite saying, and it's habits eat willpower for lunch. And so along the lines of goal setting and what I mentioned there, if I can systematize like these guys are talking about and have a habit, it begins taking less willpower. It begins taking less bandwidth, which, when life happens and you get busy, you get tired, that bandwidth goes away really fast. But if you have the habits in place, oftentimes you're more likely to stick with it because that you find sanity in those. So yeah, I get up at 4. I would say 99% of the time. I work out 99% of the mornings. I know that it will set my brain up for success. So sometimes it's not just about a weight goal or a weightlifting goal or a endurance goal that I'm working on for a race or something. It's because I know that my brain will be screwed on a little bit better if I work out in the morning. And I know that I'll be a little bit more available as a parent, as a coworker, all these different things. My brain will just work better if I get my movement in first thing in the morning. I, like these guys, I plan ahead. My phone is my external hard drive. So my schedule is to the minute, usually, what needs to happen throughout the day, including my breaks. So Becky, I saw, was asking about fitting in rest and play. I mean, I bet Justin's going to ask us more about that in a minute, so I won't address it entirely. But I will say that oftentimes if I have a 30-minute break, I will go in my office and shut the doors, lock it, shut the lights off, and just close my eyes and box breathe for 5 minutes. I'll set a timer and just reset my nervous system. And so that actually goes a long ways towards preventing the stress from accumulating so that I'm just so burnt out I can't function by the time my last client shows up.
Could you tell me box breathing real quick?
So there's two things that I do. The one is box breathing, where traditionally you can do it with different numbers, but traditionally it's in for 4 count, hold for 4 count, exhale 4 count, hold 4 count. And it's really nice for kind of centering, resetting the nervous system, downshifting a little bit. 20 of those is actually pretty amazing, and it only takes approximately 120 seconds. The other thing that I really love, if I need to really downshift, and I use this with my massage clients all the time. So if any of my clients are out there, they're going to be like, blah, blah, I've heard this before. But it's breathe in for 3 and out for 6, or in for 4 and out for 8, wherever your cardio and respiratory rate is ready for. Exhaling for twice the amount of time that you inhale, because exhalations are very parasympathetically activating, right? Meaning they activate the rest and digest. So and inhalations are activating that fight or flight, right? The sympathetic dominance. So if you're trying to reset your nervous system and kind of downshift, inhaling for only half the amount of time that you exhale is a nice little hack to help your nervous system redirect if you find the stress accumulating, especially if it tends to accumulate in your body. Oftentimes you can tell where you're at by how your breathing is doing. So that's something that I do, especially if I'm really stressed and I'm becoming very overwhelmed and I need to downshift. I do the inhale for half the amount of time that I exhale. And that's a very parasympathetically activating thing that I can do. Another thing that I try to do is have drinking 30 ounces of water by the time I leave the house, which is usually around, there you go, Blake, good job, which is usually around 5. I mentioned breath. Oftentimes, I learned this from David Ebel, actually. There was a time during COVID where the gyms were open and they were shut, and they were open and they were shut. And I was finding myself so frustrated that I was barely in a good state of mind to take care of my clients when I walked in to meet with them. And he just shared with me how when he walks in the door, he pauses before he walks in and he asks, who can I love? And in addition with the breathing, I found that, you know what? I have, like Lasa said, I have a purpose when I walk in this door, and it's just to be there for the one client. The rest of my life and my stress can pause for 60 minutes or 90 minutes, depending on the appointments. So asking myself that before I walk in the door is often really helpful, just even in changing my heart and my attitude. And I won't continue because I feel like Lasa and Justin shared a lot of awesome things, but I'll just finish by saying that I try to wrap up almost every day with a little bit of spiritual care, right? And that could be devotional time, reading my Bible, or reading a book that kind of just helps redirect my heart and mind so that I am again resetting, because it's really easy, especially kind of as a type A person. I can just stay in go mode for basically years at a time. And then when I crash hard. So even just incorporating those little resets as far as on my way across the parking lot or walking in a door or, 20 minutes before I go to sleep, incorporating those little resets all throughout my day, I found has promoted a lot more sanity in my life and a lot more ability for me to care for the people that I have in my life.
Awesome. That's really cool. I love that. I love the breathing. That's something I've been practicing. Definitely get the 30 ounces of water in the morning before I leave. That's been huge for me. And then I love that idea of when you walk in the door, who can I love? That is so cool. Because it really shifts your focus, right? Between like stress and, oh my gosh, I got all this stuff, and it shifts your focus outward, which is so healthy spiritually. And then also it reminded me of John Maxwell's book. And he talks about this guy who was so busy, and he would walk in the door to the office and he would just blow by everybody and be like straight to the office. And one day John said, "Hey, what's going on, man? Why are you just walking by everybody in the morning?" He's like, "Man, my plate is so full. I just can't talk to people. I got to just get to work." And John told him, he said, as a leader of this organization, you just walked past your work. Your work is those people on your team and investing in them and helping them become great.
Hey, it's Nicole Haggerty, your holistic health and fitness coach. If you want to improve your health and life and get lasting results, you have to be the change you want to see. Let me help you be that change. Find me at NicoleHaggerty.com.
Hey, Eastern Oregon. My name is Justin Hernandez. I specialize in sports performance training for middle school, high school, and college athletes. My program goal is to optimize an athlete's potential on all playing surfaces. The Breakfast Club motto is creating elite athletes, but even better leaders.
This is Summer Steele of Body Seorsa. I am a licensed massage therapist and certified personal trainer. I work with bodies of all shapes, sizes, and abilities to help them live a fuller and freer life. Connect with me on Instagram and Facebook under Body Seorsa, Body SAORSA, or contact me at 541-786-5245.
My name is Blake Bars, and I'm General Manager of Nature's Pantry here in La Grande. I had a terribly unhealthy lifestyle when I started working here. I just didn't know how simple and powerful healthy habits could be. Now I love being able to lead others to vibrant health here at the store, through the health show, and in the health challenges we host twice per year. Learn more at naturespantry.life.
Hey friends, Lasa here with Wild Holistic Nutrition and Fitness. As a certified personal trainer and holistic nutritionist with 17 years of experience, I'm passionate about guiding others in their journey to wellness. I work in the areas of sports performance, group and individual fitness, personal training, behavioral and nutritional coaching, and gut biome health and assessment. I'd love to help you feel good so that you can thrive and meet the purpose you were made for.
Tim James here, founder of ChemicalFreeBody.com and host of the Health Heroes Show. After regaining my own health and having massive gut issues and surgery, I'm on a mission to help others do the same. If you're ready to make your health a priority, lose that weight, increase your energy, and just wake up and feel good, you can reach me at ChemicalFreeBody.com.
Okay, this question we had from Becky. She says, when do you fit in time for rest, not sleep, and play?
Hey, this is super important. I think, and I've learned this the hard way, and Summer alluded to this, but man, you can go 100 miles a minute for years and then until you go, okay, what have I done to myself? I think it's really important to know your limits, know your limitations. And I think that takes some self-awareness, and it takes trial and error, and keeping a really rigid schedule on my phone too, like Summer does. But I think what I have learned for me is that I started, if I have a client cancellation, I wasn't filling it necessarily unless, and I would leave this open. I would say this, we've all said this, our purpose is to love and to serve. If God wants me to fill that time, I think he's going to hand me something to fill it. Otherwise, when somebody has canceled because they're on vacation in that training session, I take that as that's my time for vacation. that's my time to go home early that night and get an extra hour or two that I wouldn't have normally gotten, or that's my extra time to spend a little time in the gym, or reading a book that I really was interested in, or whatever. But outside of that, I also do schedule time for me. And so I had to learn where what my maximum was. And so I used to fill up every Friday, every Saturday with clients and make so many accommodations. I'm not saying I don't still make some accommodations, but now what I try to do is be really rigid that Friday evenings, I don't take any clients, or Saturday, Sunday. And so those are my times that I reset, that I get time away to go play. And that play for me might look like hiking, running, boating, singing, concerts, music, whatever it might be. I mean, spending time with friends, family, making connection. It might be learning. It might be sitting in the backyard and just enjoying time, being quiet. But I do know that I schedule that time in now, and that's just part of the routine as well. And then outside of that, I have dreams and goals too that are big, and some of them are just to play. Some of them are to adventure and explore. So I've made it a real point to put on the calendar at least a couple of times a year to do those things. So like I have a trip this month to go explore all over Southern Colorado to places I haven't been, and go run trails and hike with 4 really great women that I think are amazing people that inspire me. I went to Arizona to go explore there, and to New Mexico to go explore there. And so, those are kind of bigger things that I just do on occasion. I don't get to do that stuff all the time, but I think, I have had to learn over time, like, where are my limitations? And I can feel it when it's happening. But I also know, okay, if one week's really crazy full, this week has been, I can kind of look ahead and say, okay, I have scheduled next week to be a little bit less. That's okay. And so I can tolerate the ebb and flow of those kind of things. And I've done this long enough, and I've established systems long enough and routines long enough that I don't have to rely on willpower, which is fleeting and it's going to fail. And so I can handle some of this tough stuff, and I kind of enjoy it. I don't do a lot of things I hate. And I think that's an important thing to note too. I've steered my direction towards my passion. So when I'm doing these things, I'm finding joy in those things too. So even though it's work and sometimes it might feel overwhelming, sometimes it's just pure joy. And when I'm teaching a client, they're teaching me at the same time, and I'm gaining something from them, and my life is getting filled up and feels full at the same time that they're feeling those things. And I think that's a pretty cool exchange that's part of what all of us do for work. I mean, there's no way that some of the things Justin and Summer do with their clients, that there's no way that that's just, you're filling them up and they're filling you back up. I mean, it's amazing. So anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Justin? How do you find time to rest and play?
I would say that I don't do anything that I hate doing. I'm very fortunate in the fact that my law enforcement career and where I am at currently in terms of my current assignment is something that I'm extremely passionate about. What led me into law enforcement was I've always wanted to be a dope cop, and the way that this state has evolved, drugs aren't really a thing in Oregon anymore. And I had a lot of fun feeling or doing what I loved, and that's taking drug dealers off of the streets. I've had addiction affect my family and lost my mom to a drug overdose, so I'm very passionate about drugs. Well, when Oregon took that from me, it was like, well, what am I going to do now? I was kind of at a crossroad in my career, and then the election was going on. The current school resource officer was getting ready to roll into a sheriff, and I'm like, I got in this job to change and save lives, and if I can't do it in the streets, then I can do it in the schools. And so my law enforcement career currently is phenomenal. I love going to schools. I love working with the kids. I still get my adrenaline doing the SWAT stuff and teaching basic SWAT and firearms and fighting and all that. So I still get my fix there. But my I guess 8 to 4 is inspiring kids and giving them, telling them that there is a way to get out of LeGrand. And then when it comes to the training part, that, like I tell my kids, like, this is the best part of my day right now, is working with kids that are hungry and wanting to change their lives. And when it comes to my free time, I like to do things that are fun. I love competing. One of my friends, he's like, you are hyper competitive. And I'm like, I live to compete. Like, it drives me. And so I picked up golfing last year, and now I do that to get my competitive niche. And I don't hang out with anybody that doesn't make me a better person. So if I'm golfing with somebody or I'm asking somebody to hang out, it's like, I want to learn something from you because I like your vibe and I want to learn more about it. And I want to implement that vibe into who I am. So, like, let's hang out and hit a golf ball in a hole. It'll be a miserable time, but we'll have fun.
Yeah. I like that you got into golf, but so you got so into it though that now you're beating me. So that's not so fun.
I'm just getting lucky.
Yeah, I'm gonna be paying you back soon. You just wait.
Yeah, perfect. So when it comes to my rest, to Samaya's question, my rest is when my brain isn't working, because between writing programs, training athletes, helping kids write letter of interest to college, hey, this is me, doing all of that cop stuff, teaching. When I'm rested, it's like I can just relax and be with my family. And I make time for that, just like I do everything else on my schedule. And when you start building these systems, I like to break up everything that I do in my life. And I have a systematic approach to everything. I have a systematic approach to, teaching basic SWAT, to teaching firearms, to just teaching cops how to be cops, or teaching cops how to fight, or how I approach kids, or training athletes. There's a systematic approach to every single one of those things. And I think that I'm efficient in executing those systems and implementing those in every single day life, into my friendships, into being a follower, into being a husband, into being a dad, into being a homeowner, because that takes work. And I'm weird, and things have to have a place, and things have to be right where they were left, or it drives me crazy. And so, like, even the house and maintaining a house in your property is a lot of work. So just taking things that I've learned through goal setting, creating systems, implementing those systems, and executing those systems in every single day life allows me to have that time to rest. And my time to rest is when I can turn my brain off, have conversations with my wife, looking her in the eyes, making that eye contact, engaging in that, talking to my kid, engaging in conversation with him, helping him with his homework, or running for him in the backyard, or carrying a football, or hitting a tee, or shooting his bow and arrow at a foam target. When I can turn my brain off from all these different systems that I have, that is my rest time. And that is how I fulfill that niche for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah. Okay, Summer, how about you? How do you find time to rest?
Well, these guys stole most of mine. So I'll just kind of reiterate a couple of things. I like these guys plan ahead. So, and it doesn't sound very fun, maybe to more spontaneous personalities, but if I know that I'm going to need some time off, or some time to just let my brain rest or whatever, oftentimes I look out in my schedule and I block it out. Waiting for the stars to align and to have a relaxed day, I'm going to be waiting a very long time.
Yeah.
Another thing is I put my phone in airplane mode when I'm ready to chill. I don't, it's very counterproductive, right? If your phone is pinging, and there's work just lining up for you when you're trying to switch gears, and it really prevents you from being present. Justin mentioned just like a moment to hang out with your wife, look her in the eye. I know right before this call, I haven't really had a chance to visit with my husband for a few weeks. And so we took 30 minutes. We both had crazy days, but we took 30 minutes and we just visited and had a snack together, just to make sure that we got a chance to connect a little bit. But I have to plan out my If I expect a break or a fun or a play, I have to plan it out. So a lot of times what I'll do is I will purposely schedule 0 or really minimal clients on Thursdays. And that's the day that I take my kids out hiking, or that I go meet friends for coffee, or that I just go do something that sounds kind of nice. My daughter's into horses, and a couple times I've scheduled to go ride horses with her at one of the stables, like just something that is different and enjoyable. It doesn't have to be a big, ginormous vacation, but just something that feeds my soul a little bit. And that said, if I want a bigger vacation, I do really have to plan. I have to start marking it out a year ahead of time, it seems like. But that being said, when I'm on vacation, I turn my phone off, and I really make a point to not be, and I don't always succeed, just to be honest, but I do make it a point not to be torn in 5 different directions when I'm, going on a backpacking trip or whatever it is that we do. Let's see, I wrote down a couple other things. So one big thing in order to even have fun, this is just my personality, but oftentimes I get stuck in such work mode that the idea of taking a break to have quote unquote fun doesn't sound worth it. So oftentimes I have to really put it in my brain, like, okay, if somebody invites you to coffee, you are going to say yes. You are going to set your phone down. You are going to look them in the eye. You're going to be present with them. And I never regret it. I always have an amazing time, even if it's just an hour, but really setting the intention that I'm going to focus on being here with this person in this moment. So much more enjoyable. And then again, very similar to these guys, I do a lot of what I really love. Going to an evening with jujitsu class is like those are my friends, or my people. I love hanging out with them. I always leave having had an amazing time. It's like one of the funnest things in the world. I really like working out in my garden. I like doing projects around my property, and I really love learning. So I'll sign up for a self-defense class or something, and I'll go and I'll invest the money. I'll get on a plane, and I'll leave town, and I'll again turn my phone off and just be there to learn and grow in that way. And I find that really fun. So yeah, I guess intentionality, planning, and then incorporating a lot of things into my life that I love, and I'm super lucky to get to do them on a regular basis anyways. So if you were to ask me, about my massage or about my training or about any of it, I like it all. It's really great. So the biggest thing for me is just, oh yes, Becky, I would love to go to coffee with you, by the way. But just making sure that I don't hit that burnout, because that's a really weak spot of mine. I just go and then I burn out and crash. So finding the balance and making time for the things that kind of feed my soul that are enjoyable, really important.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really appreciated what you were talking about taking time to just connect with your loved ones. And I love this whole conversation because it's really helping me improve too, because a lot of things like we know, but to just hear it affirmed, like really helps you solidify it in your own mind and your own habits. For me, I am the same. I got to schedule that time for me or for my family. And then if things come up, that come in the way, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I have something scheduled during that time, because it's in the calendar. So I know somebody wants to do something. It's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm busy during that time. For me also, I always take one day off every week, at least. So I always have one day of rest where I do not work at all. Obviously sometimes emergencies come up or whatever, but I do not work. I do things I enjoy. I spend time with family. I rest. And that's really important for me on a daily or a weekly cycle. Okay, so we got to wrap things up here. Really, the main question I just want to touch on in closing, and I think, Lasa, you've hit on this, and I've heard you talk about it, and we've already touched on it a little. I just want to drive this point home in closing here. Lasa, you say that you want to help people achieve health and feel good so that they can meet the purpose they were made for. Can you elaborate on this, please? And what does health have to do with being able to achieve our purpose?
I don't know where everybody else is at that's part of this challenge, or who's going to listen to this later. But I know for me, finding my purpose feels like I'm in a flow, like I'm in it's not hard. I won't say, okay, it's hard some days and it's exhausting some days, but I know it's right and it feels right. I know that it's what God intended for me to do. And I think in searching for that, if somebody's out there and they haven't found that yet, or they haven't felt that yet, I think, the technique Summer was talking about with breathing, those are the same techniques I use for breathing. But that's how I start with teaching people about goal setting. But it's how I start the goal setting process for them is to help them get absolutely calm and relax their bodies and relax their mind and kind of create space that's almost an empty space so they can just feel themselves and be open to letting themselves begin to think about what they're meant for, and letting God or, the things that are on their heart speak to them, and this is such an important piece, not allowing any of the barriers that start to pop up in their mind to be a factor, just absolutely removing those things and just letting themselves enjoy, like, whatever it is. It can be the biggest rock star crazy goals in the world. But think about those things like in relationship to, so I was listening to Tom McCarthy speak. I don't know if anybody's heard of him, but he was talking about how important it is. Think about the things that are on your heart that you absolutely cannot live with. That's the way it is in this world. And good or bad, right or wrong, you want to make change, and you could help facilitate change, and you feel motivated towards that thing or that service or that whatever that is in such a way that you can't kind of leave it alone. You can't stop thinking about it. It keeps boiling up in one way or another. It keeps popping up over and over and over. And I think I would just encourage you to move towards that and continue to allow yourself to think about what those things are, write them down, and then kind of go back through and go, okay, write them down in a brainstormy type way. Just doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be, and then go back through and revisit those things in a calm state and go, okay, what does this look like? So I'll give you some examples, you guys. One of the things, let's see, it was a couple of weeks ago, and I did a presentation for 90 staff that work with early intervention, early childhood special education kids. So birth to 5-year-olds that are in special ed. And one of the women was like, I want to become a foster parent. And what an amazing thing that she wanted to become. And she was somebody who was a little bit later in life, had her kids, they were out of the home. But, I was explaining to them, like, this, think as big as you possibly can, things that you've always imagined doing, and let them, things don't just come to you by happen chance. God planted those things as a seed in your heart and your mind and your brain, and he wants you to have them. He wants you to achieve them. He wants you to meet your purpose. And wellness plays into that in such a way that if your physical body is presenting limitations for you, if your nourishment, if your food is creating an environment for you that you feel so fatigued or depressed or inflamed that you don't have the clarity of mind, you don't have the energy to serve in what you were meant to do, that's where you are going to play interference in your own life's purpose. And I want to repeat that again because I think it's such a big deal. If you don't prepare your body and mind and your systems and your processes or whatever in wellness and in nourishment, in physical fitness, in all the things that you do, oral care, whatever you need to do to take care of your body, your sleep, your stress, how you manage things, then you will run interference on your ability to meet your own life's purpose. And to me, that's a big deal. I mean,
yeah.
You got to get out of your own way.
Oh man, I don't think it's ever been said better than that. I was listening to this guy speaking about your purpose yesterday morning, And he said, nobody can thwart, nobody can stop the purpose you were made for. Not the devil himself, not chaos, not destruction. Nothing can stop the purpose you were made for, except for there's only one person, and that's yourself. Justin and I actually have been privileged to be a part of this faith-based leadership program we've been doing over the last couple of years called the Timothy Project that was written by Randy Brockema. And the whole purpose of this project is to write your life's mission statement, the thing you were made to do that nobody else can do. And and in this process, you write all these things down, and then you go back through the workbook and you find the things that you say over and over and over again, the things where like, this is where I've been gifted. This is where I'm talented. This is where I'm skilled. This is where I'm passionate. These are the things I want in my life. And you use those words to write your life's mission statement. And once I wrote that, it just started to guide everything, and all the small goals. And we talked earlier about having a big vision for your life. And then the small steps become clear that you have to make. But then you also got to go focus and hit those steps on the way, right? And so having that vision for my life, that mission statement for my life has really helped guide me. It's been like a rudder. It's been like a sail to help steer me in the right direction. And I can't emphasize that enough. But actually, what's really cool is my life's mission statement is basically to bring people together and build people up to prosper in health, in spirit, and in God-given purpose. And so in order to prosper in those things, health is so important. We have to feel good. If we start feeling bad, we're going to become inward focused, and we aren't capable of being outward focused and serving the way we were meant to in the unique, special way you're talented to do that. So I just want to encourage you all to, like Lasa said, take time to be quiet and listen and write down some things that you feel like are really your biggest strengths and your biggest passions, and the opportunities that are already right in front of you. Where have you been placed? Who are the people in your life? And begin to form a mission statement for your purpose. Okay, so just final thoughts. Justin and Summer, could you just maybe encourage people on their journey in just closing remarks?
Absolutely. I think it's very important to understand, and like we talked about on the panel last week about the nutrition, I think it's individually based. So because Lasa and I are weird and we like to get up really early and set our stuff up and have everything prepared for us, that may not work for you. But what I would encourage you to do is to try to do one thing every single day that's going to set you up for success the next day. And in that, you're going to start to develop like these small little systems or processes, whether it's just, hey, make sure you get out a water bottle and bring a water bottle to work so, we can drink more water throughout the day. Something as simple as that. And Blake and I have talked about, just his morning routine where it just started one day and he's like, dude, I'm up like 12 pounds and doing this, that, and the other. And it literally just started with waking up and waking up and drinking one cup of water every day.
Yeah.
Drinking water every day.
2 cups of water. Yep.
Yep. And then so it has this snowball effect because there's a lot of science that backs this, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but if you start to do things that optimize who you are, like what Lasa said, you optimize yourself to become the best version of yourself, essentially. And there's no way to do that if you don't set small goals for yourself. So there's going to be days where, there's gatherings, and with this health challenge, you don't want to lose points. We'll find a way to get all your points in the morning. Spend that extra time to drink some extra water, get some sleep the night before. If there's an outing the next day or you want to go out with your friends and, maybe have some drinks, torture yourself in the gym or go on a long walk, but prioritize your health and wellness before the fun. And then the fun is going to come, and you're going to start to find the fun in the health and the wellness.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Summer. That's very encouraging. Thank you, Justin.
To kind of piggyback what they have said, and specifically Lisa with the writing thing, when people arrive at what their goals are going to be, it has to be their own. It can't be something that I've put on them or that I've kind of coerced them into because I think this sounds like a good goal for them. So one thing that I do like to do is ask them a couple of questions. And if they're kind of stuck in the fact that this is what I need to be doing, and I can see clearly just from an outsider perspective, because sometimes it's a little helpful to have some distance from a situation, that it's not working. And they're expressing frustration over and over. My diet never works for me, or, this area of my life is super frustrating and I can't stand it. So then the question I tend to ask, and I encourage you guys listening to sit down with a notebook and, like Lisa said, create some quiet space and kind of mull these over and meditate on them. But the pressure that you're under right now, the untenable situations that you feel like you're in right now that pop up all the time that are crushing you in your life, can you be here in the same exact place for another 5 years? And oftentimes people, they just wilt. They can't stand the thought of being under those same depressing pressures for another 5 years. It feels unsustainable to them. And sometimes it's like, oh, okay. And that's honestly where a big turning point in my life happened years ago, was I thought, I can't do this another 5 years. So I'm willing now. I have the humility to say, you know what, I'll change. I don't care if it's a failure at first. I don't care if the first thing doesn't work or the first 10 things don't work. I'm going to start knocking on doors and trying something, because I can't be here in 5 years. And then the other thing is, let's say you have something that you're clinging onto, an old belief that if somebody challenges it, you feel yourself automatically like this defensiveness rise up in you. I would say that's a moment to check yourself. Like, why am I feeling so defensive when I ask this person's opinion and all of a sudden they're just responding in a loving, cordial way. And all of a sudden I want to, well, maybe not everybody, but I want to punch them. I want to react. I feel angry or defensive over this thing. So my question, in a really honest, genuine way, sometimes to my clients and sometimes to myself, is, how is that working for you? It could be as simple as, I want to drink a carnation breakfast shake every morning for breakfast. And I've been doing it for 20 years, but I don't understand why my blood sugar is so awful. It's like, well, how is that working for you? Sit down and write it out. How is it going? If it's not working and it hasn't worked the last 5 years, maybe it won't work for the next 5 either. So again, make some changes, and it might be different for you than it is for me, like Justin pointed out, but start trying something different. And the last thing that I feel like God has really grown me in the last few years, because this isn't my natural bend, but that is to speak life into people. So I would tell everybody listening that you're stronger than you think you are. And you have a purpose that you were meant for, and a reason that you're supposed to get out of bed in the morning, and people in your life that you need to show up for that would be really blessed. When you grow as a person, they're going to grow as well. So when you work on yourself, oftentimes you're working on your children's life as well, or you're working on your coworker's life, your spouse's life. You're working on, the downstream effects, and all it has to start with is you being willing to take a hard look in the mirror and say, well, okay, what's my first step? I don't care if it's painful. I don't care if it's hard. I need something different. And be willing to just kind of settle into the fact that I'm going to be playing detective a little bit. Not everything I try is going to be magical, but I'm willing to try. And so, yeah, I've never met somebody that was in the pressure cooker that wasn't stronger than they thought they were. I want to make sure people know that about themselves.
That's beautiful. I couldn't agree more. Being refined in the fire.
Yeah.
Knowing your purpose, growing to your maximum potential, and sowing seeds that benefit others is true success. That's what Randy Brockema says. Knowing, growing, sowing. The best thing you can do for others is to be the best version of yourself you can be. So find your purpose. Set goals to become the best you, and then you will be able to be of most help to others. Love your neighbor as yourself implies that you are loving and caring for yourself. So take care of yourself first, physically, mentally, and spiritually. This is the goal of what we practice and preach at Nature's Pantry, and what the goal of the Vibrant You Health Challenge is all about. And this is what these health pros here tonight are encouraging us and supporting us, all of us, to do every day. So thank you guys for that. And for those of you who are in the challenge, we're so proud of you for putting your health first, for setting goals, going after your dreams, going after your goals, putting in the work that it takes, the little day-to-day stuff that it's going to take to get there. And like Summer said, habits eat willpower for breakfast. And you guys are building the fundamental habits in this challenge that are going to lead to a strong immune system now and vibrant health for life. And as Lasa says, meet the purpose you were made for, because you are worth it. All right. Thank you guys so much for tonight. God bless you all. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good evening.
The information provided in this show is intended for your general knowledge only and is not medical advice. If you have or suspect you have a specific medical condition or disease, please consult your healthcare provider. If your provider has a strong understanding of nutrition and holistic health, even better. The opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Nature's Pantry.